Hi, how are y'all? Oh, thank you, appreciate that. How y'all doing? Good. Okay, let's try it for the people that didn't hear me in the back. How y'all doing? Yes, I like that energy. I do like that energy. What time is it? 5:22. Y'all are here. I don't know if you were told you had to be here, if you signed up to come, if you don't want to be here, I'm not sure, but thank you for being here. I appreciate y'all being present for this session. There's a lot of people here. This is actually one of my first times that I get to present on like what it's like for me to be abroad and to share some nuggets with y'all. So I'm like super like geeked a little bit. So I kind of put together some slides. Fair warning, what you'll see is all pictures that I took while I was traveling, including this whale watching video in DR that I did with the CLAC, the Center for Latino Arts and Culture here during the ASB trips. So everything is my content, okay? I'm my own content creator, and I'm sharing it with y'all today. So as the slide says, my name is Keywuan, Keywuan Caulk, and I use he, him pronouns. I'm the director for the Center for Social Justice Education and LGBT communities, not committees, communities. And we're located on College Ave, 17 Bartlett Street. Our center is one of 4 cultural centers. Does anybody know what the other 3 cultural centers are? Quick pop quiz. What are the other 3? Just shout it out if you know it.
Latino Arts and Culture.
Center for Latino Arts and Culture, better known as CLAC. Yes, thank you.
Asian American.
Asian American Cultural Center, AACC. Yes. What's the last one? Paul Robeson Cultural Center. Yes, on Bush campus. So yeah, fun fact: PRCC is the eldest Black cultural center in the nation. So there's some history on our campus. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about me and you. So study abroad. The session that you probably see on your agenda is being American and abroad. But I realized everyone in the room may or may not be American. So we're gonna just talk about you as an individual. You insert your culture. I'm Black, 365 days a year. 366 on a leap year. So when I give you my experiences, they are going to be a lens of Blackness. So you kind of take me out of the equation, insert yourself and what you need to think about your experience. Is that cool? All right, so every now and again, I'm going to say, if you with me, say, oh yeah. So are you still with me? Say, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, cool. We want to see if that increases in energy. What is this fly? And I need your energy. Keep it alive. Stay alive. So again, thank you for being present. Thank you for choosing to travel. Thank you for choosing to go abroad. Thank you for choosing to expand your own mind and all of your learning, but not only to soak up what you're gonna get while you're away, but to also share yourself, your culture, your identities with another part of this world. I think there is a true exchange when we go abroad to study, to visit, to travel. And so don't forget that you're just not a stranger in another land, but there are gonna be people that needs to get to know you, and you're gonna bring a wealth of value and knowledge to wherever you go. Oh yeah? Okay, we're getting there. So I'm coming to you from, let me turn this around, that way I can read my own screen. With a lens of not having had the opportunity to actually study abroad while I was in college. Now, fun fact, I went to college a while ago. 2004, 2000 to 2008. Was my undergrad experience at Fairleigh Dickinson, right? I know that I don't look that old, cause what? Black don't crack, okay? So I never had an opportunity to study abroad. I actually didn't know it was a thing until I left college and started to work at a university, and I'm like, y'all hear that? Someone trying to get out? Okay. It is Halloween. I don't do the scary stuff. So I never did it. So this is the lens I'm coming through, being an alternative spring break facilitator or faculty member through the Center for Latino Arts and Culture. I've gone several years as someone who helps people process their experiences, especially as it relates to race. A lot of American Dominicans who travel back home don't have context around what that life is like, what it means to be lighter skin or dark skin. There it is. What it means to have curly hair, straight hair. So we process DEI conversations. So that's been a really big and interesting part of my journey. And also learning Dominican culture as someone who is not from there and seeing it enacted when I'm there, from politics to interpersonal relationships to how family life is to just what city life is opposed to country life, and all that goes in between. So that's one. Now, I love to travel. I have friends who love to travel, but they ain't got time. I'm going by myself. So I've done several solo trips, and I've learned a lot while I was away. Being an educator, being someone on this campus, I kind of know how to navigate certain spaces when I'm away for my own personal learning or my own personal adventure. And so I'm going to give you some of those tips while I'm in conversation with you. And connections with global SA pros. One of my best friends, who I call my sister, and I was just telling Lauren this in the hall, she works for Emerson College in Boston, but she has been stationed in Wales, Netherlands, in Europe for 5 years and just came home last year to come back to her American job. And so I've been really inspired by her, learning what happens as she builds student affairs in a European country, because student affairs is like budding there. So what is student affairs? Cultural centers, RUPA, major events and programs, student activities and involvement, that's student affairs. So she's been doing all of that over there, and I got a chance to visit Wales, Netherlands. The Emerson campus is actually in a castle. So I was king of the castle for a night, y'all. So it was really cool and fun. So I've kind of gleaned a lot of things about what globalization looks like, how do we navigate American students in a foreign or different place than the US. So some of that will come up. And obviously my career drives me to help you process this conversation. We don't just have national crisis here that I kind of think through or process with students, faculty, and staff, but what happens abroad impacts us here too. Many of us on this campus, maybe many of us in this room, are still connected to our family and friends in other countries. And so when things happen, natural disaster, violence, and all of that happens, we have to sit and figure out, how does that impact you and your day-to-day? How do we help you get through, cope with, or resource your family, your friends in other spaces? Oh yeah? Okay, we're still here. So I love to cruise, and here's some things from my cruise. So if you're ever out and about in the world, take something from Rutgers. I chose to use a sticker from our office and show us where you are in the world. I think that's super fun. Rupa used to do that. People would take the little purple sticker and plaster it all over the world. Do that with whatever you can, so we'll know where Rutgers is. And believe it or not, Rutgers, people live everywhere in this world. So I can imagine there's nowhere you can go and not find someone that's from Rutgers. So you're in a really big network. Okay, so that's my 5-minute intro. Let's try to dive into something. As I am chit-chatting with you all, if you have questions or if you want to insert a comment, feel free to raise your hand and chat with me. I don't want this to be just me talking, but I realize it can get that way very quickly. So if you have a question while I'm chatting, please ask it. This is for you. So considering me when I'm away is really important. To be honest, I have to consider me every day here in the US. And my major context is my first identity that's on this slide. Again, Black every single day. Like I can't miss that, right? And neither do people when I enter spaces. So I'm always concerned about what is Blackness like in other places when I travel. How will I be seen, received, treated, handled if something happened? From my airport experience to maybe at the hotel or wherever I'm staying, Airbnb, to my interactions with the police if I have to have that, to my restaurant experiences, to my excursions, right? So I'm always conscious of who I am when I go places. I'm a cisgender male. In most countries, men have privilege, right? So I'm not always conscious about that, but it's still something to be thoughtful about, as sometimes my expression can be a bit feminine. And so to other folks, to me it's just me being me, but that could alarmed people about who I am, being Black and queer, and sometimes femme as a man, right? Solo group, how am I traveling? How do people see me as one person, right? So people have tried to scam me before, but in groups, people won't mess with me, right? Like, so it's just, you have to be conscious of who you are when you're away. I'm able-bodied and I'm an explorer and a tourist. I'm not afraid to go and do things that might be off the beaten path, but we'll talk about how to keep yourself thoughtful in that in a little bit. And I'm Greek lettered, right? So I'm in a Black Greek organization called Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. And so this also is something I'm thoughtful when I travel, because I could connect with any of my fraternity brothers while I'm away, from an airport experience to being somewhere. So I bring that into the conversation for you to remember that you're a part of a network if you are in some type of group. It doesn't have to be Greek life. It doesn't have to be fraternity or sorority, but are you a part of a national-based group that you could connect with people when you are away? Or that you could connect with people prior to your departure, that you can gain some tips, tricks, or knowledge about where you are headed? Oh yeah? Okay, cool. So why does it matter? You need to know how you are showing up. Check yourself. This is not an identity workshop, but before you go, you should probably sit and ask yourself, maybe write this question down. What are my most salient identities? What are the identities that are most important to me every single day? And you can also just ask it in the context of your US experience. Who do I worry about every day as it pertains to you, right? Who do I worry about? Where do I have privilege? How do I insert myself in power, or in situations where I can be powerful or power-filled, right? And also, where do I feel most discriminated? Because chances are that is the energy that you're gonna take with you when you leave. We don't just get on a plane from one place to the next and leave all of who we are home. You might have identities, or ideas rather, of how you want to be portrayed when you leave and like create this new life for yourself, and that's great. Recreation is amazing. But some of who you are will seep in when you are where you are. So be mindful of who you are taking abroad. And also be able to kind of consider the conversations that you will have with people about yourself when you are there. I imagine that you'll make friends from other countries. I imagine that you will talk to hosts at different restaurants or venues, right? And become chatty, friendly, whatever with them. How are you gonna be able to talk about your US identity in the context of this place, and then what it means to be that somewhere else? So ground yourself in the work, in power, privilege, and perception, and be aware of how others will interact with you. I think you may already know this as a YouTube generation, but no matter where you wanna go, there has been someone that's posted a video that can share an experience. Let's give you an example. I was really curious on what it would be like for me to travel to Ghana. And clearly I would see my people. I feel like we're long lost cousins, and history can tell you why I feel like it's long lost, right? So I feel like I'll be going home and I'll be around my people, right? But what does it mean for me to show up in my queer identity there? What are the news articles that talk about LGBT people in Ghana? How do they perceive? If I was to share out loud that I do identify as queer, what will happen to me? Will it just be a conversation? Will it be violence? Will it be death? Don't want to scare anybody, but those are definitely options. So I wanted to know. Long story short, you can Google, you can YouTube, you can also ask around the campus. You are at a large enough campus where somebody is from somewhere. Unfortunately, I didn't make it to Ghana because the height of the summer airline situations, all of my group's flights got canceled. So we never made it, but that's some of the research that I did because I was interested to know, how can I show up? Even in a place where it's majority Black folks or African folks, I think folks in Africa will identify as African first before they say Black. We'll get to that in another slide. But how will they receive me in all these identities, okay? So be thoughtful about what that looks like. That's me in St. Martin. I've been to St. Martin a few times. It's really fun. Okay, so why? Why? Everybody say why. Have an understanding of your why. Highlighted in this little phrase is stand and why. Stand on your why when you get it. So I'm sure someone said, hey, I have this wonderful opportunity for you to go study abroad. You should do it. And you're like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. Let me do it. But answer these questions for yourself if you have not already. I'm always interested in why people want to travel to certain places. Is it because it's popular on Instagram right now, right? Like Bali, everyone is going there. Why? Why are you going? Just seems cool. Maldives, everyone wants to travel there. Why? Why are we doing that? Right, so why are you going to this particular place that you all are choosing to go to? What is there for you that intrigues you? Are you just taking up space in this land, or are you going to actually be educated to immerse yourself in this culture? What is your why? Is it, I'm studying abroad because this is the only option I had, but I also want to make sure that I get an experience that I can pass on to maybe my children one day, because that's acceptable too. I want to expand my own knowledge and who I am in different cultures, different places, different spaces. I think it's important. So why have you decided to travel or study abroad? Why are you traveling to this particular place, and why are you interested and excited about going? Again, the energy that you prepare with will be the energy that you take there. And that could help or hinder how you explore a city or a town or a place. So gather your why. Education is super important. Okay, when I first started traveling in 2009, that's when I finally got my passport on one of my first cruise. And we stopped some places I had no idea how to communicate with people. Super embarrassing and super hard to meet needs. So before you go, again, as you prepare, do some conversation with people that are here or online, read a couple books, watch some videos, but simple greetings. What's acceptable? What is the behavioral code around meeting new people? Do we shake hands? Do we bow? Do we just say hi? Do we not give eye contact? Do we give eye contact? What is that like? And why is that a practice? I think that will help you understand and respect folks' culture a little bit more. But all of this can be different in different places. So greetings, gratitude statements. Everyone might not just say thank you, but there might be more that you need to say, or less that you need to say, or maybe not to say thank you at all. So this is important for me, but also basic needs. How do you get food? How do you get water? How do you ask for direction? How do you say I don't know? To someone. How do you get your basic needs basic needs met while you are away? I think it goes without saying, and maybe you've already thought about this, but the tradition and customs. Inform yourselves of those practices. So, for example, one of my most memorable and favorite travels that I've had within the last 6 years was to Thailand. I went to Thailand for 2 weeks, the longest flight of my life. But it was super fun. Nonetheless, when I got there, and I actually did not want to leave. Fun fact, don't tell anyone, this is a little embarrassing, but I was crying like a baby on my last day because I actually loved it there so much. I didn't want to go, and I actually would move there if I had the opportunity to spend for a while, a couple years, and maybe come back, but we'll see. But I'm bringing up Thailand to share that I loved all of Thailand. I stayed in the north, some place in central. Phuket was there, as well as the southern region. The southern region was my favorite. I went to a lot of restaurants that were restaurants maybe in the front of a living space. And then it was like someone's home in the back, right? Had no idea that I need to remove my shoes. And in some places, in more the touristy areas, you don't sit on the floor, but there you could sit on the floor if you chose to. So those are customs I wasn't ready for, but I also was like, let's do it, because that's my personality. That might be uncomfortable for somebody else, right? It seems small and minor, but it's also a sign of respect for that person's home and their business as well. So I love that I was supporting a family. I could literally look in the back and see kids playing in the back while I was eating up front. I thought that was super nice and cool. But there's customs that you might have to adjust to when you're away. So So let's see. In DR, I was learning about funerals. Right? It was interesting. But the context of that was learning that a lot of practices were rooted in maybe some African traditions. And there were a lot of dances. We saw a lot of costumes. We heard a lot about what was happening, but at a certain point, we were invited to dance with them as our group was there watching and learning, right? And so I think that I bring this up to say there are going to be really cool things that you might want to participate in that I would say participate with invitation. Right, I think we want to be careful of how we possibly appropriate culture, even while there, because there's a thin line with appropriation and appreciation. So participate in traditions and customs that you're invited to or have permission for. I wouldn't suggest going there and just buying cultural garb and just throwing it on because it looks nice wherever you might be going for this travel or any, because that might be offensive. You might need to learn about why folks wear what they wear to do certain things. Like it really pains me as someone who understands where locks, dreads, people call them dreads, but we call them locks, where it comes from. And I'm just seeing random people with locks, and then I ask like, well, why do you have those locks? And they have no idea about the history behind it, right? It's like, it's not just a hairstyle, right? There's a lot that comes with it. So I would offer to you to know what you're getting into with any of the customs, traditions, attire, any of that, conversations as well. So be invited, get permission to do certain things if you would like to. That is a sign of respect. And I think you'll have a better experience with it when you do. And know what the happenings are. So what are you flying into? What is the history of that space? I'm always conscious of like, okay, not only what's happening today, which is the next bullet, but like, how do people treat my people throughout history? Because 9 times out of 10, that culture still exists somehow, somewhere. Racism is something that is deeply rooted in many places. And so you might not experience racism, but think about sexism. Think about homophobia, right? Like, what is the history of that? What is the progression of that? And does it still exist? Can you encounter it? And know what's going on in America. I think sometimes that is a flaw, if you will, of Americans, is that we can go about our lives and not be up to date with the current news because we're so consumed in other things. But when you go other places, people are gonna want to converse about what's happening here. And will you be able to keep up with that conversation? Will you represent well? It's not on you to represent all of America, let me be really clear. But folks have perceptions about us as it is. I just don't want you to be stuck in a conversation where you're looked at differently because you don't even know what's going on in your own homeland or where you might live if you don't call this home, because that's a thing too, right? So just kind of be up on what's happening here, the latest things, so you can be in conversation. Okay, y'all still with me? Say oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay, great. Hopefully I'm not boring you. Here's highlights from one of my DR trips. One thing to note about me is I'm a counselor by master's in elementary education. So I'm going to find babies wherever I go. So these are some of the kids that I had fun with. And also this far right picture is from a carnival in Bonao in a small town in DR. It was my first carnival and being live and interacting with all the costumes and the people. And so that was super fun. It happens every year while we are there. So we try to plan our trip around visiting Bonao. Yes, so I'll sharing that. Spaces and places. The isms are not the same in other places as they are here. So the context that I'm always concerned about around my blackness and racism might not be the actual framework that people live through in other spaces. How people see blackness could be different, how they interact with it. Racism, homophobia, sexism, all those things that we are like always talking about here and trying to fight may not be that in other spaces. It just depends on where you're going. And so I do want to offer that you go with some type of I don't want to say guard, but maybe a little light guard, right? Like your sliding door is like a screen door, not necessarily a whole wooden door, that you can kind of be open to seeing in and out of that space. And you're not so guarded that you're closed off, is what I'm trying to say. And that it doesn't put off this persona and this perception of attitude or anger, or maybe I don't want to be involved because I have this understanding that this is how people are going to look at me as a woman. This is how people are going to treat me because they know that I'm queer or trans. Right? I just want you to be open to things not being as bad, and when it comes to the isms in other spaces, that it is here. But still be aware, just in case, right? And know how you want to govern yourself when these things might happen. Or if you're in a group of people and things are happening to other people, will you intervene? Will you stand up for some of that? So knowing context matters when it comes to this. And then I think I'm almost finished. Immerse yourselves, have a good time. Who knows when the next time you'll be back to that particular place, that particular country, or have that opportunity to do some of these experiences that will be before you. If you are like me, underneath this good sweatshirt, I have grown over the years because I'm eating everything. I'm trying all the foods. I want to try the sweets. I want to try the candies. I want to do all the things, but be open to a new experience. And I know that could be really hard for people, but how best to learn about something is when you get into it. Get into it and be open, compare, contrast, know what you like, know what you don't. One of the most fun things to do when building new relationships, especially with new boos, is to tell them about new foods that they've never heard of from different places. So that's a little fun fact, a little tip for you to put in your arsenal when you're looking for love. I've been here and I eat this food. Have you ever had that? I got one up on you. So we have to go and visit and have that food. But here is just a picture of me at this really cute restaurant in Amsterdam, where my friend I was telling you about who works at Emerson knows the owner and put all the food out on the table because we have good connection with them. And so every time I visit, we go there, and this is how I eat when I go there. So you just kind of never know. This is just me dancing, trying to get some steps. I'm a better dancer than this, but I could not catch on. And then that's me in the corner, the top left corner, actually at a school in a place called Dehoban with mostly Haitian Dominicans. Do some research on Haitian Dominicans, but these are often forgotten babies with a lot of less resources in this particular place. And so I went there, taught some things, but had more fun than not. And we made balloon animals, something that they don't get to do often. So just little things, and giving out candy and playing kickball or catch with them, right? So if you get an opportunity to immerse yourself in something that's not your schoolwork, feel free and go. This is us in the play yard after we played a couple games of Duck, Duck, Goose in their classroom. So that was super fun. And just having a little conversation. This little girl in the middle attached to my hip the whole time. One of my most memorable moments on this particular trip with those students. I think I have 2 more slides. So prepare and prevent. Going away for such a long time, it can sound like fun. You might be running away from home, from parents, from the US. I don't know why you're going, but some of us will get away and miss home, right? So I want you to kind of prepare for what it looks like to be homesick. Or to kind of miss your friends. How are you planning to communicate with them? What methods do you have in place to make sure that you still have a touch of home? Obviously, we have WhatsApp. We have all these ways to communicate through Instagram, but know that some social media sites don't exist in certain places. And Wi-Fi might not even be great to even get on. So kind of put some things in place. Go old school. We don't do this anymore, but write postcards or write letters. That's always nice to have a pen pal from home to send you little things, to kind of put scents on your letters that remind you from home, right? Be creative of how you want to stay connected to a place that is yours, right? What do you need to feel comfortable? One, so as elementary as this might sound, but some of us still have that little teddy bear that comforts us. Some of us still have that blanket that is our favorite that brings us joy and comfort. Some of us have that picture of our family member or our loved one or our boo or us that brings us happiness and comfort. You might want to remember to take that. Who knows what your comfort thing is, but you might need it. And it might sound trivial, but you're going to be gone for a few weeks, a few months, right? So get what you need. Where do you find love and support? Because I think you were all talking about like these stages, and some of that might look like isolation. Some of that might look like you're not making friends, or you're just feeling like I don't want to make conversation with people. So how do you know that you are still loved and you're cared for and you're supported? What will help you to do that? That might be communication back home. That might be constant emails, consistent. So prepare and prevent some of these things from happening, like the lack of these things. And what helps you to feel like you belong. That's important to know too. Like we can do all the things here at Rutgers to help you, cultural centers, foods in the dining halls, whatever it looks like. But what will happen when you don't have those things at your fingertips? How do you create a new experience? How do you tap into something else so that you can have a sense of belonging, to know that you should be there, right? This is not my home. This is not somewhere that I will be for a long time. I need to make meaning of the space that I'm in. So sense of belonging can be something that's hard to find, but you can prepare for that. And then obviously homesickness. That's it. So here is another photo of me on one of my solo trips. But the point is, connect with me. I'm a wealth of knowledge, even more than I've shared here. But if you find yourself away from here and you want to process anything, DEI, coming out, gender and sexuality, just figuring out how to navigate some space, I will be more than happy to talk about your experience. And I always say I don't know everything, but I do know a lot. And when I don't know it, I'll help you figure out where. So I know you have your team of people that put this together that is going to support you, but you also have me now. So I'm in your corner to support you. So screenshot, follow SJE's handle, which is the last thing on the bottom. We answer all the DMs and sometimes we follow back. However you need to contact me, you can do that. So thank you for your attention and inviting me to share my journey or my little tips. There's more that I can share, but I will stop my conversation and ask you, do you all have questions for me that I can answer? Something that you want to know, something that I touched on, you want me to talk more about? Yes, and tell me your name and your pronouns if you don't mind.
My name is Ellie.
Ellie.
What's the second thing?
Oh, your pronouns.
My pronouns, she, her.
Thank you.
So I was wondering, like you said, since you are Black and you're queer, do you feel that some places that you go, you have to kind of hide the queerness that you experience? Like, do you have to I don't know, kind of change how you are to feel more comfortable in an area, or do you just completely just be your full self and then just hope that people appreciate you how you are?
Yeah, I'm definitely hiding in some places. That's for sure. I think there's a privilege for me to be cisgender, as I said earlier, and to also not readily appear queer to some people, for whatever that might be for folks. However, no shade to the place I'm great in name, but I like to keep it real. So if you are from this place, I love you. And I also really like the place I'm about to mention, but I'm clear that if I go to Jamaica and I'm displaying PDA with my boyfriend, if I'm there, it might not be a good look for me. Especially if I'm deep into a town, a city at a party or something like that, right? Might not be a good look for me. So I'm definitely careful. But I do know that on the resorts, I can be all of me because I'm a tourist, right? Like there are certain places where you will visit certain spots and folks will say, don't bother tourists because that's how we build our economy. But I'm also concerned that I don't want anything personally done to me. So yes, the answer is yes. In a lot of Caribbean spaces, I'm not gonna be wearing my queer as fuck t-shirt. Excuse my language, sorry. I'm not gonna put that on. And I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't. I'm only talking about what works for me. You might be in another place of your boldness and outness that I am not when I'm there. So that's my answer. So yes, I do. I don't like it. I really truly don't like it. But I have had to do that for my own peace and safety. Thank you for that question. Yes, all the way in the back in green.
Hi, also just random question. Did you write a book by any chance? I feel like I've heard you speak once before, like a children's book, maybe?
I have not written my book yet, but I do plan to, and I've started, but it's not completed.
I knew there was a concept. Anyway, you're an amazing speaker. Thank you for coming to talk to us. My question is, I remember you were crying on the last day of the trip. What helped you recover from the reverse culture shock?
The fact that I know I'm going back, I'm going to visit again. I really valued every experience I had, the people that I met, the things I got to do. So I just had to be like, okay with like, Keywuan, you can go back. But I think it was really rooted in a freedom that I felt while I was there, that I was like, when I go back to America, it's not going to feel like this. Yeah. So yeah. Also, thank you for the compliment and remembering that I want to be a book writer for children to teach them about DEIs in kids form. That's very great. Thank you. Oh, there's another hand. There's another hand. Yes.
Hi, I'm Brooksy.
Hi.
She, her. I just wanted to ask you a question based on racism, but
Yeah.
mainly, I think you went to Amsterdam.
Mhm.
I'm not sure.
Yes, I did.
Okay, you did. And I wanted to know, because like there's not a lot of black people. I just wanted to know, like, I'm going to Israel and they're kind of racist towards black people. I just wanted to know, like, how did you deal with the different kind of racism? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, does that make sense?
Of course, it makes lots of sense to ask that. What can I say to you? One, black people are there in numbers. I do think we kind of stick in our own community. I think when we go to Amsterdam, we're like in the heart of the city, like doing all the things. But we're there, you just have to take a couple trains away. So we're present. And I think, I don't know that I can say that I've experienced some overt racism while I've visited Amsterdam, but if I will be mindful of other places that I've gone where racism was ever present. So in the way that I would hide my queer identity is not the way that I would overlook racism. I'm very much like, let's talk about what just happened. If it means that much to me, or if it's an intimate enough setting. But if it's like passing, then I'm gonna just go about my business. But I've addressed it in conversation. What do you mean by that? Can I clarify something for you? Or why would you think that? Like, these have been conversations I've had, but when I know that I can have that conversation, right? Like, I have this theory, maybe some people here have heard, there's some things that you put a seed in the ground for, and then you leave it so that someone else can water it, which means they can do all the work in growing it and, you know, make sure that gets nurtured. But then sometimes you're the person to do all three. You get to put the seed in, you get to water it, and you get to watch it grow. When you're traveling, you don't always get to watch anything grow. Sometimes you just have to drop a seed about the ignorance and then keep it moving. So you can choose to enter that process or not. But I think it's just a matter of like me doing this work day in and day out at Rutgers. I've been here for 10 years, y'all. So like having conversations about racism is like, I'm waking up and like, oh, you want to talk about racism? Let's talk about it every single day. So it's easy for me, but for some of us in the room, that might not be a thing. And depending on where you are, if you're with a host family and there's racist things happening, how do you navigate that conversation? When you know you have to stay there, right? How do you navigate that conversation towards the end of your trip rather than at the beginning? Or how do you connect back with someone here that is in connection with your host family to say, hey, we might want to consider some things in a different way. And sometimes you might not have to say racism. You might have to say something else about how you feel and not actually name it because it could be triggering for others, right? So you want to keep yourself safe. I don't know if I have time for another question or not. You're welcome. Cool glasses, by the way.
Thank you.
Love them.
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
Okay. Yes. Yes. Pink shirt. I think.
I was just wondering how many countries have you been to?
Oh my goodness. So I do count all of the stops on cruise lines. So people don't. They say this is a cheap way to travel. I'm cheating. I've been to over 10 places via a cruise, over 10. And then I've been to destination-wise, maybe another, I'll say 6 or 7 to be safe, but I feel like there's more. My brother's passport is stamped, y'all. I have 2. I'm on my second one. I really enjoy traveling, so yes, it's been quite a bit. Some in and out, and some long-term stays. How many people like cruises? Have you been on a cruise? Only a few? If you haven't gone, you should go. It's wonderful. Like, you don't do anything but party. Anyways, one more question and I'll be finished. Yes?
Hi, I'm Lily. I go by she, her. I just wanted to ask you, how did you learn to speak so well? You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Y'all are so nice. Thank you. I've not always been this person. I'm actually a very shy person. But I've done this for so long, it's just second nature. So I think I will say it really is true that practice can make perfect. Do I think I'm perfect? No. But practice can make perfect. So if the more you do it, you'll learn what works for you. You'll know what ways to connect with your audience. And when the audience is engaged, I like the energy that you gave in the white sweater, then it kind of helps you ease those nerves. But I have a lot of like tips to help me not be so nervous in front of y'all. But after 10 years of doing all this work, I still shake before I start. So thank you for saying that. But anybody could do this. Just practice. Practice. Okay. Thank y'all for those questions. They were great. Travel safely, travel aware, and travel open. Be open to all the possibilities that you have. Never, ever in my little small town of Penns Grove life in New Jersey, so 1 square mile town, 2 stoplights, did I ever think that I would be traveling to so many different countries. I do not come from a family of travelers. My mother has not been anywhere past Georgia, and she has no desire. She lives vicariously through me. So I don't have a family that has open me up to that. So the opportunity that you may have, you may come from a family that have taken you places, but know that there are many people who don't get this type of access. This is a very privileged space to be in. So don't, I don't want to say waste it, but don't take it for granted. And take full advantage of the experiences that you will have. So yeah, be open to all of your possibilities. And I hope, to hear about it at some point from someone in the room, share what you've learned. But yeah, there we have it. So thank you.